Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. On today's episode, I am having a one-on-one with my very dear friend, singer, songwriter, creator, innovator, and just all-around incredible person and human being, Gattison. Gattison, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me so much.
Of course. So how have you been handling, we are still in this pandemic. It is a new year, but we are still in this pandemic.
Listen, it's still here, it's still breathing on a neck. But I mean, I feel like I fall into the camp of people who are like, listen, this new year is bringing some freshness and newness. Yeah. So, but that's just, I guess that's kind of my little personality. I just like, so it's a reset. I'm just adios to 2020.
For real. I mean, you text me on New Year, like, so what are you working on? I was like, what? The New Year just happened like 20 minutes ago. I was like,
it just happened. Can I finish my drink?
But that's what I love about you. You're so ready to just innovate and create, and you keep going. You don't stop, and it's inspired me. And I know you inspire so many people. So I love that energy. I love that energy that you give off. So I want to talk a little bit about your story, because you have a very interesting story, and I know that my listeners are going to be excited to hear it. So just talk a little bit about where you're from and what your musical journey has been.
Woo! Okay, so with the musical journey, there's so many aspects and facets, but I will say that, where I come from is a musical family. My family is some singers, and started off in the church and the Black gospel church. And so my great aunt, she was the original singer of the 60s hit "Oh Happy Day." Then going down, my cousin, he was the guitar player for Prince. So singing and playing is all up in the blood.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what I understood as far as, music and growing up. So really, for me, it's been about finding my own sound when it comes to music, because to be honest, I didn't feel like I necessarily fit in and I had a lot of insecurities actually around music and singing and all that kind of stuff. So it was just kind of this journey of me finding myself. And that's not to mention, the other stuff that we probably gonna get into.
Yeah.
but that's that on that.
Right. So you also dabbled into Christian music for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was your experience like with that? Because, and I don't know if you've seen, I've posted it, but there's been a lot of resistance in the Christian community in terms of how to approach this pandemic. And I've been very turned off by the Christian music industry, because they are still allowing what they're calling revivals and, worship concerts to happen in such a sensitive time. And I want to know about what your experience was like, working in the Christian community and what you're seeing now that is complete opposite of what you believe as a Christian and as an artist. I know you don't classify yourself as a Christian artist, but I feel like if you're a Christian and you're an artist, you're a Christian artist. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be singing Christian music to be a Christian artist. But I just want to know about your experience in that industry.
So,
take a breath now.
It's like, when I talk about this stuff, wow. It feels like a lifetime ago, but there was a love-hate relationship with the Christian music industry. I think that, when you come in as a Christian artist, specifically singing Christian songs, whether that's worship or just inspirational Christian music, you kind of, when you're green, you kind of come in like, this is me and my authentic expression to God, and I'm just sharing this with the world. Mm-hmm. And I think that intent is cool, and I think that intent is really good. But then you kind of, at least in my space, there was this weird kind of like, with business comes business etiquette, right? So like, you have to start thinking about marketing. You need to start thinking about like numbers and like touring and different things that are practical.
Right.
Yet at the same time, at least from my space, my sect of Christianity, there was this kind of like, but you don't need to be promoting yourself.
Mm.
And so there was this really weird tension of like, okay, you're doing this and you're doing God's work, but don't promote yourself, because God is the only one that can promote you, and he can promote you better than any man can. And he can, and so I'm like, okay, am I supposed to like post on Facebook or not? Like, what
Right.
am I supposed to
It's
do?
this push and pull for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think, specifically when it came to the worship community, which I was more involved in, um, there's this really cool aspect of worship that is very intimate, very powerful, in that you really are there for some people's most intimate moments. As a worship leader, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, "Oh, because of that song, dot 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 dot," or
Right.
"When I heard this song, or in this moment, I felt blah 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 blah," and it really changed somebody's life. So it's a really intimate space to be in, and you have a lot of power as a worship leader to not only create a moment, but to really influence people and influence the direction that people are going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say all that because you now then step into this moment where you have these worship leaders that have power to influence a moment. And to me, the thing that's so disheartening and sad about this particular moment with worship leaders who are just kind of like, cast off all restraint and let's just like worship and have super spreader events, is because there is that power, there is that influence, and we're really playing with the most sensitive parts of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really dangerous. It's
It
dangerous.
is. And you touch on something, because when you're saying you're playing with the most like sensitive parts of people, it's like in a time like this,
Right.
people are looking for hope, and people
Right.
don't want to kind of question, well, why is God doing this?
Yeah.
Am I losing my faith and not trusting in him
Yeah.
because I'm doing this and I'm doing this? So you are looking to people that you have followed, that you
Yep.
think are singing messages that you support, and
Right.
you're like, okay, well, they don't believe this, and they're still doing this, so then that's how it must be, because they're the people that I've been following and being a part of, and they're the ones that are doing the ministry, they're the ones that are anointed or have the calling to be in this position. So
Listen.
I'm gonna follow whatever they do. And you're right, it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and it really speaks to even another part where, we in the Christian church in general have idolized our leaders, and we have set them up to be the mediators between us and God. And the reality is that was the whole point of why Jesus came, is that he didn't want no separation. It's just me and you, personal relationship, right? But we in the church have really idolized these pastors, idolized these worship leaders. And so in a moment where really this pandemic should be pushing us towards intimate, personal relationship with God, and us having a tighter a conversation with him and moment with God, him, her, it, um, we are still looking to these leaders to provide these things. And so that's why we go to these super spreader events. That's why people are going to these whatever, because they're like, okay, well, if this person who's closer to God than I am is doing this, then maybe they know something that God is saying that I don't know.
That to me is almost a lack of faith.
Right.
Because
absolutely,
you're looking at somebody else to make these decisions for you and to tell you what your relationship with God is. And it is a personal thing. I mean, honestly, if I didn't have my own relationship with God, I would have walked away from the church a long
time ago.
I mean, I would have been gone. Okay. Right. But I know that it is a personal relationship.
Yes.
So what kind of responsibility do you think that moving forward, Christian artists specifically need to take? Because when you are in any sort of industry, but specifically music industry, because everybody listens to music, music is universal language. But what kind of responsibility do you think that they need to start taking now? Because this isn't over. We don't know when it's going to be over. I mean, we know the vaccine's here, but Lord have mercy, who knows? You know what I mean? So, I mean, what kind of responsibility would you like to see them take?
I think for me, I think we've got to step back, okay? And this is for everybody. I don't care what industry you're in. You're either going to look at this as COVID and the pandemic is a problem that I am a victim of, or you're going to say, hey, there are opportunities hidden inside the trauma of all of this. There are opportunities that are hidden inside this. And if I can figure out how to find those gems, then actually I can be an innovator in this moment. Okay. I think, so now going back to your question and being more targeted, I think that for worship leaders or for the Christian music artists, there's a beautiful opportunity hidden in this, specifically for worship leaders, to really train their congregations on how to be worship leaders themselves, how to live themselves in worship. But see, the problem is that we actually kind of like being depended upon as their spiritual whatever.
Come on.
So we have our services where we love the fact that we're on the stage. The attention is on us. Come on, somebody, let's talk about it. The attention is on us, and we get to kind of lead you, talk to you, tell you how you should be worshiping, what it looks like, and da, 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 da. And the reality is the church would look awfully different if we actually trained our church folks, the regular old church folks that's sitting on in the pew, to actually lead themselves, become worship leaders, and lead themselves into a more connected space with God. And I think that it's an amazing opportunity. I think even just practically off the top of the dome, why not? If I was still, doing the whole worship leader thing, as in like, that's my main thing.
Yeah.
I would be like, yo, what does it look like to have a weekly video on how to train people? What are some elements of worship and leading yourself into worship look like? Because listen, but then by the time you get back in church, your worship service gonna be lit. Lit. I mean, angels just gonna be showing and appearing. Hey, listen, little feathers gonna be dropping out the air.
I love it. I think as you said that, with people trying to find that worship leader within themselves, or just a spiritual leader within themselves, there's a level of fear also. It's like people don't think that they're worthy enough, or that they can make the decision if they don't trust their own intuition as being, God's voice or whatever it is. And I see that a lot. And in general, it's not even just with Christians. I think in general, people don't depend on themselves enough. And I know I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it too.
Of course.
And we just need to take a step back and figure out how to trust ourselves and know, like for me, I've struggled with discernment a lot, and I've had to really try to listen to God's voice. Sometimes I tune him out. I'm like, I don't want to hear you right now. I don't care what
Not today.
Right. So, I posed this question on my social media a little while ago. So I'm curious to know what your thoughts were when it comes to Jesus. Do you think that he would be surprised by the amount of followers that he has, if he were alive today?
Okay. And he was on socials?
And he was on, just in general, it's not even on socials.
Okay.
Because he truly is the first person that anybody followed, you know what I mean?
Right.
So do you think that he would be surprised by the amount of people that are following his teachings? I put that in quotes.
Right.
Because that's also another conversation.
Right.
And do you think that his intention was ever to be this globally worshipped?
See, that's a very cool question, very interesting question. I think my first response to that is yes and no. I think he wouldn't be surprised because, he knows all things in that whole thing, right? Like, okay, God, we know.
Right.
Okay, but I think he would be surprised in that people miss the whole point of his message. Yeah. Because it was never really supposed to be this almost giving up of our power. It was supposed to be a finding of our own power.
Yes,
That's
yes,
why
yes.
he said, greater things will you do. You, not me,
Yes,
you.
yes,
Which
yes,
is a
yes.
bold and radical statement because
Yeah.
the man was, doing healings. He was raising the dead, healing the sick,
He was walking on water.
walking on water. I mean, he was cutting up the soul food and feeding a whole bunch of folk. So it's like, but now he did. Now I ain't never raised nobody from the dead. I mean, not one. I tried. I did. I prayed real hard. I did. God bless my soul. I did. But greater things, and so I think we're missing the point.
Yeah.
We're missing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
of Jesus. And so as far as following him, I would put that in 2, 3, 4 quotes. Because that's a conversation. But
ooh, that is a conversation.
because I don't feel like we actually really following
we
him.
aren't.
And idea of him.
Especially the people that are the most outward followers of
My
Jesus.
Jesus.
I'm like, you really need to go back
and go back to the scriptures.
Right. I mean, to day one, to Genesis. Like start from the beginning and then work your way, or maybe not. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know.
Right.
Okay, but let's talk about your music a little bit, because I know that you, like I said, you don't classify yourself as a Christian artist, but I've always found your music to be inspiring, and we've done songs together, and I think the messages that you send out to me is truly the epitome of what you should be as a Christian artist, as far as inspiring people and wanting to make people think and feel something. So let's just talk a little bit about the type of music that you're doing and what are your current goals for 2021 with your music?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, if you listen to my music, you'll definitely get some of those inspirational vibes in there. Really, for me, my music is just about kind of telling my own story and finding the concepts within my own life that I'm journeying through and trying to make it as universal as possible, because I think we all in some way, shape, or form are going through similar things. And so just finding those connecting points and then putting that in a song, and then in interviews like this, I get to tell my unique spin on that concept, but also people can relate to it and put their story in it. But yeah, I love music. Music is like literally my passion. I love being able to tell stories with music. 2021 is about to be lit. You'll see a different side of me. I feel like up until this point, there's been one side of me that people have seen, especially in 2020. There's been kind of a one-sided thing because the moment called for it, and I specifically wanted to speak in those terms, so the song that we worked on, Be the Truth, the song that we worked on together, and those songs really kind of spoke to the moment, and I'm proud of those songs, and you should go stream those songs if you haven't already. But this year, I got a new song coming out this month, okay? and I'm talking about just real stuff. I'm talking about falling out of love. I'm talking about the hurt of love, of thinking that you were going somewhere. One of the lyrics say, we thought we were flying, but we were falling. What a shame. Out of love. And this idea that I think is universal to everybody, whether you're in a good relationship now, congratulations, or whether you single, ready to mingle, or whether you jaded or whatever. I mean, you can relate to at some point you didn't fail out of love.
Wait, so I would talk about this a little bit. So it sounds like you're gonna get more vulnerable with your music.
Oh, extremely vulnerable.
So what caused the shift for you?
I think there's always been that goal and intent, but I had some things to say before I went there.
Okay.
And I really wanted to, specifically for this year, 2020, there was so much child that went on that I had to say, come on now, be the truth.
Right.
Come on, somebody. And then come on, somebody, let's do it together.
Right.
Now that I got that out the way, I'm going to be really talking about some stuff. Also, I haven't said this anywhere, so your listeners is getting it first. But in February, we'll have to do something because, my story, my story about, Allie, my best friend, who happens to be my ex-wife, and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But we actually are doing a song together.
Oh, amazing.
Okay. And we are, it's about our story. It's about the day that we transitioned our romantic relationship and ended our marriage. And it actually is going to be around the same day that we ended. So we ended it February 21st of 2017. So we're releasing a single around that time. So it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited. And the girl's on there singing.
Awesome. I didn't even know she could sing.
Sure can.
All right.
She can do a little me.
I want you to go into a little bit of your story as much as you can with Allie, because I have always just been so encouraged and I guess enamored with your relationship, because it's very rare what you two have. So Allie, as you mentioned, is your ex-wife, but I don't want to take your story away. So just tell the listeners a little bit about your past and your story with Allie.
So, like I said before, raised in kind of the evangelical Pentecostal church, good old Church of God in Christ. And come on, somebody, lift your hands to Jesus. Lift those brown hands to heaven. So anyway, that's what I was raised in. And I knew two things at a really young age. One is that my faith meant a lot to me. And that was something that I knew was going to be in my life forever.
Yeah.
And then I also knew that I was attracted to men. And I also knew that my faith and that attraction to men, as far as what I was taught,
did not go hand in hand.
Oh my God, it don't go hand in hand.
Right.
It's like oil and water don't mix. And matter of fact, I heard that it was an abomination. Matter of fact, I heard you was going to have a special place in hell. I mean, and then they got to talk about, don't let them Church of God in Christ folks start talking about the belly of hell. I mean, they get into detail about their belly. And I said, I ain't never heard so much detail about a belly. So anyway, that's what I knew. That was my understanding. And also my understanding was that you could pray the gay away. Now I'm telling you some foundational pieces so it'll make sense on the other side.
Story. Yep.
So basically, I could pray the gay away. So long story short, I kept going through life, and when I got to about 2021, something like that, I went into Bible college because, again, my faith meant a lot to me. At this point, I had gone through some reparative therapies. I had been to all kinds of counselors. I had, done the stuff. So, and the goal was, hey, when you're really healed, you can go on ahead and marry you a little honey, and a little female honey, and you can go and live your godly life. And so anyway, went to Bible college, ended up meeting my best friend, Allie. She and her best friend and me and my best friend at the time were all kind of like a group of friends, okay? So before we even, we were just friends. And so I ended up telling all my friends, yo, this is what I'm struggling with. I'm struggling with, homosexuality, and I'm working with the Lord to deliver me from this cancer. And so, they kind of all were like, under the same impression, like, okay, cool, awesome, we're walking with you. And it was their expression of love that they knew at the time. So awesome. So anyway, fast forward, me and Allie actually started dating. So she knew what was going on with me. She knew that I was trying to whatever. So I was very upfront. So we started dating. We ended up getting married. We were married for just shy of 9 years, have 2 beautiful children. And a boy and a girl, and they're just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and I love them so much. But anyway, around the end of that 8th year, I had been to all kinds of men's purity groups, and I'm talking about. There's multiple kinds. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, there's multiple kinds of men's purity groups. Okay,
right.
Now there's the men's purity group where you go and you with all the gays, okay? We all just in the same roof, and we trying to work the gay out. And I'm trying not to be too close to you because I don't want your gay to jump on me too, because we all homophobic. Come on, somebody, let's really talk about it. We all are homophobic, and we have this internalized homophobia.
Yeah, 100%.
For real.
100%. It's a huge issue.
It really is
within the church community, that internalized homophobia.
It really is. Yeah. And so then there's the other kind of men's purity group where they say, listen, that's too much gay in one room, okay? We need to get you into a room where there's men who don't struggle with it. And you need to learn how to not sexualize the touch of a man. So we're going to have these group of masculine men come around you, hug you, hit you on the chest, whatever. And just make sure when you come in the group, put some bass in your voice. And so I can laugh about it.
Wait. Time out. Are you serious?
Oh yeah. And it's about I'm embellishing a little bit about hitting in the chest, but I'm saying y'all gonna be like, oh damn, they just. But that concept and that idea of yes. What was happening is we need masculine people in here and let their masculine energy rub off on you. We're going to hug you. We're going to treat you like one of the boys. We may even slap you on the butt. Okay.
And they really thought that this was an effective way of like, quote unquote, therapy to change who God made you.
Now listen to this. Gonna be the one that you and your viewers are going to love. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay. Now listen. So one time I was in this group, this the manly one, okay, the masculine one, okay. So I was in the group and they said we're gonna do a men's retreat, okay. So I'm like, okay, men's retreat, that's cool. And so they say, men's retreat, we're gonna go camping. I'm like, I'm a city boy, but okay, for Jesus, I'll do it, okay. For Jesus,
I'll go in the woods for Jesus.
I'll go in the woods for Jesus. Yeah, he went to the wilderness. I'm going to the woods. So anyway, I said, okay, maybe I'll go. I'm gonna do it. So they start, weeks go by and they're like, okay, we're getting ready. We're getting closer. And as it got closer, I said, just something in my spirit don't sit right. Something in my spirit ain't, I don't know. So I ended up bowing out gracefully, right? And I just didn't know. I said, I don't know, Jesus. I don't know about this. So they went and they did their thing and they came back. And so I went, after they came back, we had our men's group again. So everybody's just raving about how good it is. It was amazing. Blah, blah, blah. They were talking about the different sessions that they went into and, they're playing sports and this, that, and that. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then somebody said, oh, but the best session was that last night. And everybody's like, oh, man, that was powerful. And I was like, what was tell me about it. What was the last session? It's like, yeah, they were talking about just being vulnerable and bare before God, right? And just like, and as men, and we need to be vulnerable and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, this sounds like a good, And they say, yeah, but the most powerful part was when the speaker basically told all of us to just strip naked.
Why did I know that was where this was going? When you said be bare before God, I literally said, I said, please
don't.
This. Please do not tell me.
Don't tell me your people. If I tell you, the look on my face when I was in that men's purity group was of pure disgust. I was like, how do you know that I got a whole, can I cuss on the phone? Yeah, I got a whole ass family. I got a whole ass wife and kids. And you invited me to this thing and wanted me to get naked with all your mans in them. And then they said they went around hugging folks. I said, okay, now what we're going to do is we're not going to do that. That's what we're not going to do. And what we're going to do is continue to trust the Holy Spirit that spoke to my heart and said, this is not a good idea.
Oh my God.
But do you understand that that's what the church has no idea.
That's what they're saying.
Don't have any idea.
They have no idea.
They have no idea. They don't.
I'm floored in this moment, but then I shouldn't be because,
right.
I mean, the more I find out about like how deep a lot of the issues within the church are, I become less and less surprised.
Yeah.
That was probably the most surprising thing I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Listen.
Because, I mean, I definitely know, friends that have, gone through, conversion therapy. Right. They've gone to men's purity groups and things like that. And clearly didn't work because you can't say on one hand, God doesn't make mistakes and he makes us, we're all his children, and then say that this group of people does not fall into that category.
Right.
But that's just what happens with the Bible and what has happened with Christianity as a whole.
Right.
And it's really a shame.
It is.
So now I want to know all of those experiences.
Jesus.
How have you channeled that for good? In your industry, in your career, as a father, as a best friend? How have you turned all of those things around for good for you?
Yeah. So for me, I think, what I took from and what I learned is that the thing that I can do to best honor God, okay, the God that I believe in, the thing that I can do to best honor him, her, it, is to be authentic, is to not hide who I am. It's to put on full display my humanity.
Yeah.
And in that, people get to see the journey. And in the journey, people get to see the flaws, they get to see the hurt, they get to see the pain, but then they also get to see the triumph. They get to see the victory. They get to see the process of working all that out, the in-between.
Yeah.
And in that space, I think that that is what honors God the most. You know, it's like for me as an artist, when, you know, my first single that I ever released, is that my best work? You be the judge. Go listen to it. Go stream it now. But you be the judge. But there's something about being authentic and letting people in on the journey. And it means something more when, you know, my single went to the Billboard charts, right? And the process of, you know, between my first song and that, my process between, you know, the journey about that whole thing. So I think that I'm really embracing the journey. I'm letting people see that I am a flawed individual. I don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim to be anything other than Gattison, who happens to be, you know, my best friend happens to be my ex-wife, who has 2 children, who loves music, and you know, is chocolatey as ever. I mean, that's the only thing I know, and I'm working the rest out.
I love, well, you know, and even in that admission of your flaws, I think there's perfection in that.
Yes.
So I think that everything that you're doing, you know, I ride or die for you. So I'm very, very proud of you. So tell my listeners where they can follow you and keep up with your projects and all the good stuff that you're doing this year.
Yes. So basically, you can go on Facebook. If Facebook is your thing, Gattison Official, you just type that in. If Instagram is your thing, once again, Gattison Official, Gattison Official. Hopefully you can spell official. But if you can't, it's okay.
You throwing shades. Stop it. You said I hope to spell official.
Same thing with YouTube. And then if you're on Twitter, it's I am Gattison, because them folks don't do Gattison Official. And it's just crazy. It was a little too long for them.
All social media platforms have a different look, different attitude, different demographic. Well, thank you so much for hopping on with me. And make sure you guys follow Gattison, listen to his music, stream it on Spotify, follow him on all social media. Thank you again. Make sure you subscribe to We Need to Talk as well. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, thank you so much. You can go to patreon.com/Malynda Hale. Gattison, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking with you, of course. And we'll talk to you guys again next week.
Bye.
Make sure you subscribe to We Need to Talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, and head to patreon.com/Malynda Hale. Thanks for listening.